Hello, welcome to our Heritage Works. Today, we're making a cast iron display storage wall. The wall that we will be using today is in our kitchen and is only there to hide the ends of the counter and the cabinets from the living room. The first thing we need to do is to clear everything off the wall and to measure the wall so that we can make our plan. When we measured our wall, we found that it was 94 inches from the ceiling down to the baseboard. Now, we knew we wanted to keep the baseboard, so we didn't measure it. When we divided it up, we knew we wanted 3 bars. It worked out to where we could do 14 inches from the top, 22 inches between pans, or between the bars for the pans, and 14 inches then down to the bottom. In the end, we ended up putting 23 inches between our bars. This was because of the door handle. By going to 23 inches, that allowed us to have clearance so that the bars wouldn't hit the door handle. And with the baseboard at the bottom, it still gave us a symmetrical look on the wall. When we did our first measurement, we found that it was 30.5 inches wide. Later, we found out that the top and the bottom were actually only 30 inches. There is a bow in the middle of the wall. So we knew we needed to compensate for that. We knew that this wall had studs on both the left and right sides, but we were fairly confident that there was also one someplace in the middle. We are the original owners and we had the house built, and we both seemed to remember, but we didn't know exactly where in the wall. So I'm testing to see where are the studs. Turns out it's a double stud on the right side, and there's one in the center-ish, but not exactly. And then the one on the left side is hard to get to with the stud finder. We eventually did find it, and the purpose of finding the studs is so that we would be able to screw into it so that we'd have enough strength in our wall. Since we knew this was going to be for a cast iron, we wanted to make sure it was a nice strong wall. And that's why we were taking so much time to find the studs, is we wanted to make sure that we were anchoring so that there wouldn't be any issue with weight. Now, we did measure our pans. The heaviest one is about 12 pounds, and we knew that we wouldn't have any more than about 4 on any particular rod. So with that, we knew that it would be around 50 pounds on the high end. Our small pans were only 3 pounds apiece, so that's only 12 pounds. We could have done this with just screws into the drywall. It would not have been real secure, but it would have worked. But we wanted to overdo it just in case someone tripped, grabbed a hold of it, whatever, that it wouldn't come off the wall and have these pans crashing down. The first thing we want to do is put a backer on the wall of just plywood. Now, the purpose of the plywood is to give it extra strength for the screws to grab into. The drywall would have been strong enough for the pans, but not for any emergency. So all we were trying to do is make sure that we had a good, secure background. And this will allow us to have about 100 pounds or so, maybe more, on each rod and not have to worry about it. So we took our time and put up this, it's only 1/8 of an inch plywood on the background just to give it more stability. We are drilling into the studs, and it turned out in the end we were able to also drill through and into the studs when we put in the pipes. Once our backer was in place, we went ahead and started applying the laminate flooring that we were using to the wall. Now, we did this with some construction adhesive. We also then screwed in about every third one in through to the back into the studs. The screws that we were using were very, very decorative and are there to accentuate rather than to try to hide. We made them very decorative and they look really nice. Of course, the supervisor had to stop by and inspect our work. We passed our inspection. We had pre-assembled our rods, so all we had to do was screw them in, and we did this by screwing, pre-drilling holes and then screwing them in. We also tried to make sure that we had at least one, if not two screws into a stud. Combined weight, this probably will hold a few 100 pounds, and so we know we're good to go. We also attached trim pieces on the edges, and where the trim pieces met, we went ahead and used a pencil to cover the ends so that it wasn't a stark contrast. In the end, we think this turned out to be a nice project. After we looked over our work, we went ahead and started to arrange our cast iron skillets on the wall. This took us a couple of tries to figure out how we wanted to do things. Even after this, we rearranged things just a little bit, but this is pretty much how it looks now. The total time for this project was about 6.5 hours, but we did spread this over 2 days. We started in the afternoon one day and we finished up the next day. This allowed us to allow some of the glue to dry before we added the pipes. We tested to make sure that the door had proper clearance, and this included the door handle, and everything cleared just fine. And our inspector returned to give his final okay. In the end, we really loved how this wall turned out, and it has made our cast iron so much more accessible and easier to use. And the comparison shot of before and after. We think this is so much better than what we had previously. Thank you for watching.